Welcome to Gifted at Heart. My name is Nina. I'm a gifted educator, and today I wanted to talk about navigating learning plateaus in gifted students. We're going to touch on why learning plateaus happen and what to do if your child or student is currently going through a learning plateau. So let's first start off by talking about the why learning plateaus happen in the first place. So the first thing is that learning isn't linear. It doesn't progress in a linear way as much as I wish it did. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So let's talk about what we can do about it. So, learning plateaus can happen with any skill. It can happen when kids are learning math or a new language or music or art or sports or literally anything that they need to learn. There will be some sort of learning plateau. They might be learning something very, very quickly and picking up on that skill super fast, and then all of a sudden they hit kind of a roadblock. In adults who are authors, we might call it writer's block. Even as grown-ups, we experience that kind of a period of stagnation, if you will. And I wanted to talk about some of the causes of why we might see that happen. One cause of this is like a hidden skill gap where you're trying to teach the next concept or they're trying to master the next concept, but they're missing a prerequisite skill. I was working with a group of students earlier this week and we were working on telling time. I introduced concepts of a clock, they got it. I introduced telling time to the hour, they got it, no problem. I introduced telling time to the half hour, again, no problem. They did great, picked up on it super fast. Then I introduced the skill of telling time to the nearest 5 minutes. And that's where we hit a roadblock. And I was trying to figure out, why is this so challenging? Like, they understand the concept of a clock, they understand the basics. Why is it so hard to tell time to the nearest 5 minutes? Well, after some careful observation, I noticed that the students were still counting on their fingers to skip count by fives. They weren't able to fluently skip count. And that's where that hidden skill gap was, where they understood how to read a clock, they understood the minute hand, the hour hand, all of that, but they had a hard time telling time to the nearest 5 minutes on an analog clock because they just weren't fluent with skip counting yet. So I was like, you know what? We're going to take a break from clocks. Let's get really good at skip counting, and then let's go back to clocks. And that's kind of one simple, easy way to deal with learning plateaus in a math class, I guess, is go back, look at some prerequisite skills that they might need. And this really, if you're looking for a quick answer, that's like the quick thing of what to do is go back, practice the basics. If you're learning piano and you're struggling with a song, go back and practice your scales. Get really good at scales, and the song will probably come a lot easier. Same thing with, sports or literally anything. Go back, practice those prerequisite skills that you need. Now, there might be other reasons why children hit learning plateaus. That's kind of the main one, but there are other things. So, another one is sometimes kids start to dislike a certain topic if they were pushed too hard too fast into it and they just started to not like it. We see that happen a lot if, let's say, a student did really well at the elementary school level in math and reading, and then they get to middle school and then they're starting to struggle a lot. We see that happen when they are placed in a math class or a reading class that was too challenging for them, and then they get discouraged and they don't want to really work hard at this anymore. Another thing is if they dislike their teacher. I know it might sound really petty, but it happens. Like, there's just some teachers that you don't mesh well with, and it could cause you to dislike that topic, that skill, that class, and just not do very well in it. Another learning plateau cause could be if something is just too challenging. If you've skipped something when you're teaching, or maybe they were absent for a couple of days and they come back to school and like all of a sudden nothing makes sense because they missed a couple of lessons, they might have that hidden skill gap, right? So lots of different issues there. All right, so a couple of solutions for learning plateaus. is introducing novelty or games to build fluency, kind of like I did with the clock example. We went back and we just developed fluency with skip counting so that when it came time to figure out the nearest time to the nearest 5 minutes on an analog clock, they already knew how to skip count, so it came faster, right? And that helped a lot. Now, if your child is, let's say, in extracurriculars, maybe they are, I don't know, playing softball, and then they start out, they're really excited with playing softball, and halfway through the season, they say, Mom, Dad, coach, whoever, I don't want to play softball anymore. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I'm tired of it. I hate it. Whatever they say. I would caution against just being like, oh, you don't like softball anymore? Okay, you don't have to play softball. That's fine. I, in that case, since it's like a team and you're committed to this team, I would really encourage that child, that family to, even though they don't like it, to continue on and to finish that season. Because I think the bigger lesson that we're teaching here is that they made a commitment to this team and they need to see it out till the end of the season. And that might be enough time for them to develop a love and appreciation for that sport again, just by giving them more time to play it. Maybe they just got in a fight with one of their friends and they're like, oh, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But kind of forcing them to go through it for a little longer until they finish out that season might be a helpful strategy. And then, if truly at the end of the season they're like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do this sport anymore, I think it is important to honor that. But setting a deadline so that children kind of have that end time in mind. This kind of happened when I was in elementary school. My parents signed me up for piano lessons, and my brothers did piano and they were really good. But I started thinking about like my life and what I wanted to do with my life, and nothing that I wanted to do required me to know piano really well. So I played piano for a few years and I was like, I don't really see myself becoming a concert pianist or a music teacher or anything like that. And I felt like I knew enough piano at that point and enough music theory to like get through life. And I really wanted to do other things. I wanted to free up that time to do art and to be outside and bike riding with my friends and all of those kinds of things. And I told my parents, I'm like, I don't want to play piano anymore. And they were really disappointed because my brothers were really good pianists, like really talented. And I just saw how much time it took. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't my life goal. And I'm really glad that my parents honored that. They did make me, they were like, you know what, this might just be a temporary thing. Let's try this for a few more months. I think it was like, let's finish out the school year with you doing piano lessons, and then over the summer we can kind of stop. And I think there was a lot of wisdom in that because it really solidified my decision. It gave me kind of an end time for when I will be free of this obligation. And I don't know. I think that was a good way to handle it. And so if your child has hit a learning plateau in some sort of extracurricular, I think that giving a timeline for it is really helpful. Another thing is sometimes trying a different style of class might be helpful, or maybe switching up, trying a different teacher might be helpful as well. For example, if your child's been doing, let's say, ballet lessons for a couple of years and then they say, I don't want to do ballet anymore, we'll say, you know what, let's finish up this semester of ballet and then let's maybe try something else. Like maybe let's try a tap dancing class or something like that, where if you still really want your child to do dance or to be active in some way, they can just dance in a different way, maybe a different program or a different class or something like that. Okay. Now, obviously, use common sense with this. Like, there are some obvious reasons to quit mid-season when it comes to this stuff. Like, if there's, an injury, if they get injured and can't play softball anymore, like, okay, obviously they don't have to be on the team, right? Or if they're getting like bullied or if there's some kind of like discrimination going on, those are all valid reasons to just cold turkey stop that activity. If there's like a major move or a major life change, those are all valid reasons to kind of honor that learning plateau and be like, you know what, we're done with this activity, this extracurricular for this season of life, and maybe they can revisit it at a later point. Obviously, use common sense with that. Like, if you have, your first or second grader telling you, Mom, I don't want to go to school anymore, or I don't want to learn math anymore, it's like you might need to have an honest conversation with them and say, you know what, Johnny, you actually will need to learn math for quite a while longer. But introducing games or kind of fun ways to practice those skills might be just enough to get them to not to enjoy that subject more again, and also to kind of get through that learning plateau. So essentially, when it comes to gifted kids dealing with learning plateaus, it might be really challenging for them to deal with, like, emotionally, because they're used to learning things quickly. They're used to having things come easily to them. So it might be really challenging for them emotionally. They might cry, they might shut down, they might have a hard time processing the fact that, like, wow, school is actually challenging now, or I'm not invincible. There's actually things that are difficult out there. And that's a really good skill for kids to learn early on and not when they're like CEOs in a boardroom, right? We want kids to experience difficulty and struggle early on so that that's not like a surprise to them when they get into adulthood. If you have a gifted child or a gifted student in your class that's gone through a learning plateau, what did that look like for them? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.